It is the final word daily. Adam Collins and Jeff Lemon. That's right, us together at once, doing our podcast together. At
the same time.
Who would have known? For cbussuper.com.au.
It's not illegal. There is no law against it. They cannot send us to jail.
We're at the Basin Reserve in Wellington. First day of the series. As I say, Jeff, sum it up in 30 seconds.
New Zealand chose to bowl. Didn't seem to be going too well when Smith and Khawaja were batting almost through to the lunch break, but they weren't scoring that heavily, and then Smith gets out, and then, it's not really a collapse, but not many runs are being scored. Gradual wickets, Khawaja, Labuschagne, Head, and then a couple more, and it's Green and Marsh. Marsh smacks 40, and then it relies on some partnerships with Green and the lower order with Stark, and then with Cummins. Green pushes on, makes 100 by stumps with 3 boundaries in the last over. Australia 279 for 9. Who's on top? We don't know.
That was exciting, the last quarter of an hour or so, when Green moved from, I think it was 72 to 84 in the space of an over. Oh, maybe, just maybe. Then he loses Nathan Lyon. So there's the onus on him trying to complete the job after keeping the strike for the final over, and he duly does. And that
with Josh Hazlewood being a less reliable number 11 partner now than he was previously in his career.
Yes, well, remember famously with Marcus Stoinis in New Zealand.
Well, when he didn't face a ball, to be fair. It was the longest diamond duck, maybe. I think it was the biggest partnership to have somebody not face a ball, and he was eventually run out and then on strikers end. But with Adam Voges famously early on, 2015, Hazlewood bats for a long time to get Voges to 100. He's been less that kind of player. He's been one cover drive for 4 or one late cut for 4 and then nicks off.
Yeah, usually nicks off. Hasn't faced the ball yet today and didn't need to because Green faced out the final over. It does feel like a significant moment for him and for this team. Batting at 4, elevated. I think in a perfect world he wouldn't yet be 4. In a perfect world, he's still cruising along at 6. Doing that apprenticeship, and in the fullness of time he would have inherited Steve Smith's spot, but the circumstances changed, and it's a good problem to have that Mitchell Marsh made himself undroppable in England and subsequently, so that's a good thing for Australia. Smith shuffling up, well, that's been done to death. We'll talk about his performances today, I'm sure, but that is a thing that's happened. It's past, it's in the rear vision mirror, so the attention does turn to what Green can do now. And to be the guy they built around today.
To be the guy who saved the day.
To be the guy that saved the day. That's quite a big deal. Going through great Australian number 4s. Number 4's a weird spot for Australia. We were going through it off air and sort of rattling through a few. Smith is the clubhouse leader by a mile. Greg Chappell made 16 Test hundreds as number 4. Mark Wall made 16.
Did good things at number 4.
And AB played 61 of his 157, whatever it is, Test matches batting number 4 as well.
Mike Hussey did a fair bit at 4.
But there's nowhere near, I guess the point I'm going to make is there's nowhere near as many as number 3 where you can rattle off a dozen of them, or maybe a dozen, but you see the point I'm trying to make.
Because it's always the great Australian players are 3.
They graduate from 6 to 3.
Yeah.
And the long way of saying this is that he's gone from 6 to 4, which some do, i.e., Chappell batted 7 on debut, didn't he, before moving to 4 and then moved to 3 once his brother retired, and there have been others who've gone from 6 to 4, but, there's something to be said for him walking out.
Has anyone gone from 9 to 5? What a way to make a living.
But doing it today, as wickets were falling, it was a bit of, boiling frog. They weren't collapsing necessarily, although they did lose wickets on 88 and 89. Khawaja and Head, the 2 left-handers. Head, a skittish one. He's really doing the boom-bust thing at the moment, isn't he? 119 at Adelaide, and collectively in every other Test match since the Ashes, about 80 runs.
Right.
Including a king pair at Brisbane, another duck at Melbourne, which I think was a golden, and
3 goldens.
And the one today where he flashed early and just didn't look easy at all.
Even since the 100, so the 100 at almost a run a ball, 119 off 130-ish, and then he's gone 8 balls, 3 innings, 1 run.
Right.
Since then.
So quite dramatic.
Yes, quite dramatic. But still only 3 innings. And, he gets out doing a kind of Travis Head thing, which is having a wild swish at a short ball well outside his off stump, which he edges.
I think you and I had this conversation after the World Test Championship final where we pledged never to get angry at him for getting out that way, because we know...
Or even disappointed. we're not angry, but we're disappointed.
It's all right.
We're not disappointed either. We're like, look, you just accept that. That is priced in to the Travis Head deal. And that's fine. That's fine.
I suppose when it happened, though, that's the one thing... Carey likewise. So Carey's dismissal, Cougar Line's back in the attack, pace off, gives catching practice to cover. Head, probably just give yourself 5 minutes after Khawaja gets out, who absorbed a lot of dot balls but only made 33 from 118. Again, that's the job he was there to do in conditions which did suit ball over bat, but still there is a moment or two where you might just play yourself in on a day like today where the degree of difficulty is a little bit higher than it is when batting on a road in Australia.
Right. And so if we start at the start, and we've talked about this on the show before, but Scott Kugelheim being in the squad and then being in the 11, yuck. A player with a very dark shadow over his history, and the fact that this New Zealand, the entirety of New Zealand cricket just pretend that there's no problem and that none of that's ever happened and that's fine. And then picking him as a fourth seamer, being fairly mediocre and not contributing much. This New Zealand team's not very imaginative when it comes to spin bowling either. So, they tend to, like the Ajaz Patel example, takes 10 in an innings, but can't get back to actually play in the test team. Santner was the one in the squad here and gets left out. They go in with their 4 quicks. They choose to bowl, and I thought basically they just bowled too short through the first session. It's not like they were bowling bounces, but they were bowling that nice length that moves away from the bat and beats the bat and looks good and doesn't actually take the edge. And that goes through almost all the way up until the lunch break. But Khawaja and Smith aren't punishing them by scoring quickly. There's a little flurry. There's a point where Khawaja's on 11, I think, and Smith's on 24, and then Khawaja suddenly goes pull shot for 6, late cut for 4, pull shot for 4, suddenly overtakes Smith in a flurry, and then that's about it. They settle back in. They both bat for a long time to get into the 30s, and then it's hot Matt Henry summer again. I mean, he across 4 spells today was outstanding. The ball he bowls to Smith that's sort of like Smith's come too far across his stumps and then has to play down the line of his stumps to defend it, and it seams away and takes the edge. And then afterwards, the one to Khawaja that swings into the left-hander beautifully and goes straight through the gap and knocks his stumps over. Like, just 2 outstanding pieces of bowling.
Yeah, I think I can separate Henry from the other quicks before lunch. I think Will O'Rourke bowled at the wrong end, and that was corrected later on when he down breeze, hitting 142. I think he hit today, maybe a bit more. He looks a real threat into the breeze, which wasn't completely crazy here today, by the way. I'm not saying it was blowing a gale, but just I think bowl the new kid who's 22, who's quick, bowl him with the breeze behind his back. They went the other way today. Southee struggled with his length, then struggled with his line, so he never found it today. He took the second new ball and went for 3 boundaries in 1 over. Thought O'Rourke, the longer he bowled, the better he got. His short balls are all over the joint, but when they're on, they're scary, right? So he's fun.
He's fun. He bowls sort of hard length. He gets the ball to jump, and he was all over the place. So there were 2 lots of 5 wides, 2 lots of 4 byes that could easily have been 5 wides if the umpires had been a little more harsh. They were pretty lenient there. And then one that sort of skims the back of Khawaja's pad and goes away for 4 leg byes, which is definitely the bowler's fault. Bowlers don't get penalised if that happens, but it's still bad bowling. So that's 22 extras in 5 balls that he's given up, or effectively 3 balls because the wides have to be rebowled.
Right.
And then in the meantime, he bowls the kinds of the handful of deliveries like the one that gets Stark, that just leaps at him and makes him fend at it and takes the edge, and he's difficult to play.
I thought he bowled well to head as well. I mean, we were talked about head's dismissal. The setup he's crucial to, right? He has head plays a couple of balls away from his body, which are just a yard quicker. Yeah. And that's the difference. And look, Kugelheim's ball, just to separate everything out from the bowling, the ball to Labuschagne's a good one, right? And he gets second wicket as well. But it did look a bit samey, the attack, with the exception of O'Rourke, and it was Matt Henry being outstanding. Matt Henry's never played more than 4 test matches in 1 calendar year. Right. He's played 3 test matches before today against Australia in 3 separate series. Right. So he played on the Mitchell Johnson career-ending pitch in Perth in 2015. Right. He played at Christchurch in 2016, where Australia racked up bulk runs in both innings. And he played at Sydney in that game that was just before the pandemic in 2020, which they picked 2 spinners for. Runs. Another pitch that wasn't designed necessarily for fast bowling. So he hasn't been picked at times that are favourable for quicks. Went around at 110 against Australia before today. So I was thrilled for him getting the added responsibility. I know Southee's the captain and the senior bowler, but increasingly it feels like Matt Henry leads his attack.
Matt Henry's the attack leader, and there was some incongruity when Southee took the second new ball, which I thought probably wasn't the right move. But so if we dial things back, we've got Smith and Khawaja making slow 30. Khawaja particularly 118 balls, was it?
118 balls for 33, and Smith 71 balls for 31. Right. And Labuschagne. And then Labuschagne 27 balls for 1.
27 balls for 1, and just wouldn't play a shot. I mean, just came out like there were balls he would have scored off normally, and he just wasn't. He was in such a defensive frame of mind that all he could do, it's like he's entirely geared to survival. I have to go out there and bunker down and face 50 balls.
He's a survivalist.
To make sure I'm in.
He's got some canned beans in the corner of in his kit bag in there. He's got some long life milk.
He doesn't just have some canned beans. He has buried in the hills outside of Wellington. He has an entire underground bunker full of canned beans. You do not want to be in that bunker with him. Take my word for that. It's going to be incredible times. He's got a water filtration system set up in there. He's got some kind of, like, I don't know, what do they call those, like, spinny devices to keep the fuel fresh. It's going to make sure that it's going to fire up the generator in 10 years' time. Like, there's kerosene lamps. Probably Elon Musk's involved. Some billionaires are funding it. There's a whole lot going on.
It could work well if we ever end up in a nuclear conflict, which is more likely now than it has been in the last sort of 40 years or so.
Yeah.
Labuschagne one step ahead of the survivalist.
What's old is new again. We're going back to early 2000s fashion is now retro. The threat of nuclear.
Am I skinny jeans back in?
Yeah. Just by virtue of waiting 20 years.
Wearing them constantly the whole way through.
You're going to be back.
Not getting rid of the skinny jeans.
So Labuschagne,
stick-on jeans.
Stick-on jeans. I think stinky jeans is what I thought you were saying, which would be less good.
But also true.
Also true at times. But as Magic told us, you don't have to wash your jeans for. It's a 3-month minimum for jean washing.
I had a mate called Troj. He probably listens. Indeed, saw a mate of ours up there today. His little daughter, Matt's little daughter, was one of the what do they call them when they stand in front of them in the national anthem today?
Yeah, I don't know.
And I remember, the kids are standing in front of the players during the national anthems. That job,
Cannon
whatever
fodder.
That job is. And I remember Troj once said to me that he never washed his jeans.
Yeah.
It's like, no, jeans don't need to be washed.
You just hang them up. Just hang them up. And until they can stand up on their own, you don't worry about doing that. So, so Labuschagne goes, and then Khawaja goes, and then Head goes very quickly after that. O'Rourke, wild. I mean, the ball he got him out to wasn't a good delivery. It was just Head chasing a short, wide one. But nonetheless, there was something in the way it was set up. And then there's the partnership of 67, and I love this bit of the day. It was just entertaining, where Mitchell Marsh is like, oh, cool, everybody else has been crawling along. I'm going to score 24 off my first 17 balls. And the square drive to start it off, which is off O'Rourke, who's bowling pace.
Fully sick.
And it is the full face of the bat, completely square. Like, the timing on that has to be so sweet. And he's like, yeah, cool, I'm going to hit their fastest bowler on the up, all the way through point, like directly compass-drawn precision through point, with an absolutely middled square drive. It was gorgeous.
I don't think many people compare Mitchell Marsh to Joe Root. Like, it's not a natural kind of like that's like Joe Root.
Off-spin. Mitchell Marsh can't bowl off-spin.
Joe Root, peak of his powers. Was it fully sick? Was that Brett Lee?
Fully sick.
I don't know. I think it was in an advertising campaign at some point or another. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments.
Park.
Tell me I'm wrong. But Marsh coming out, he said, I don't know if he said the same to you, he said to us on our interview with him after play that they could have been like 4 for 50 before, owing to the surface and the ball hooping around, and it did not look like a 4 for 50 situation. I mean, he didn't come in at 4 for 50, it was 4 for 89, but the way he played, the way he timed the ball through mid-wicket, that square drive that we all swooned over, playing down the ground, racing to 25 and then thinking this could be one of those Mitch Marsh days, akin to how it was at Leeds when things looked extremely tough on that first day in July.
A little back cut for the Southee pickup pull shot, which he's trying to hit a bit squarer, but top edges it over the keeper, but he's still coming under the ball, deliberately lifting it, looking to lift over fine leg.
Yeah, he's trying to hit sixes, right? That's right. So Marsh, look, he'll be mortified getting out when he did.
He gets to tee as well. That's the thing. Gets
just
to
after
tee, comes back after the break, and then he plays a pull shot to a ball that's not quite short enough, and that was just a misjudgment of length.
Well, one of them, as you said, that shot that went for 6, that could have done the same thing, back of the bat, which I think the dismissal was probably back of the bat.
I thought it was more toe, like top of the toe, because it hadn't got up as high as he was expecting, and so he skies that one. He gets caught. Carey sort of gets himself in, faces 20 balls, he gets to 10, and then he just smacks one straight to cover.
I thought that was pretty bad batting.
Yeah.
Just thought,
that was just mistake batting. I don't think going after the shot was necessarily bad. It was just a really badly played shot.
It's just the moment. It's just
he looked a
situational thing where that, but also, like, we know he's a great cover driver. Ian Smith said on our coverage, if you can be a compulsive cover driver, that's Alex Carey.
Right.
And I think for the most part that's fine, but like first ball back into the attack, a clear tempter, clearly less pace. There's a higher degree of difficulty on that than it would be an over later. And that was just, and it was when they needed to consolidate. They put on 20, and this was a bit of the story of the final session, partnerships of 67, 20, 35, 33, and 23. Like, all of them had the potential to go on and be defining for Australia. None of them did.
They're 156 for 5 at that point when Carey comes in, which means you can be all out under 200 quite comfortably if he gets it wrong. He does get it wrong. And then the whole time, Green's been hanging in there. He's been pretty quiet. He's playing the odd big shot. He's middling it a lot and hitting it to the field a lot. But he's trying to rotate strike more. I was interested in how much he walked at the faster bowlers today. He was shuffling up and down the crease a lot, up and down the pitch, as if trying to just keep changing things up. He did find gaps. a bit more with a bit more regularity than he has done before. He was punching twos through cover and that sort of thing without particularly playing any big shots. And there's, and he's just there. He just keeps saying it. So when Carey gets out, after getting dropped, mind you, Phillips had one-hander in the gully, which would have been a specky if he'd got the top edge. So Carey sort of gave up a chance before he gave up the second chance. And then Mitchell Starc comes out and hangs around for a while and then starts to play a couple of aggressive shots, one of which is probably Hall of Fame worthy for everybody. Although let's just spend it now. When he wiped out Cameron Green at the non-strikers end with a huge on drive that collects Green right in the middle of the pad and knocks his leg out from under him and knocks him over. And they get up, so everybody laughing. But yeah, good fielding, Cam. You've saved 4 runs for New Zealand.
Yeah, it's a good time. Let's segue into the final word.
Yeah? No, I'm not ready. We haven't quite got there yet because we've got to get to Cameron Green.
Bloody hell, you're excited. We come back. Do more Green.
We have to
have another swing.
We have to do more Green. Okay, so Starc and Green put on 35, and that's when Green starts getting more aggressive, right? And he particularly starts smoking Barbara O'Reilly.
Look at all these notes.
Yeah, I took notes. I wrote down things so that I could remember them. He starts bashing O'Rourke around. There's 4-4-3 in and over at one point as he goes from the 70s into the 80s. That's what you mentioned earlier. And then Cummins going after Rachin Ravindra, who finally comes on the bowl with the 73rd over or something to try to get them to the new ball. Cummins hits a couple of massive sixes off him, eventually gets pinned LBW, and then you've got the Green with Lyon nicking off, and Green's up to 91 by that point. Can he get there? Last over of the day. Sure, 4 boundaries. What was it? Smash and straight drive, smash one through cover, and then smashes the cut shot behind square, and he's celebrating as soon as the ball leaves the bat.
Pretty exciting. I came down to you were here too, weren't you? Just down at the race for that. It's clear how much they're invested, the team that is in him really making this a go at number 4. So the fact that he's been able to do something significant on the first day of a series, I felt the whole way through the day that New Zealand had the opportunity to win the day, and winning the day in a 2-test series, and we're anti-series being played across 2 tests on this show. They're coincidences. They're a tryst at best. But if it's going to be across 2 test matches, you've got to get busy early. You can't afford to go 1-0 down. You can't afford to be chasing the game.
Okay.
And that meant that, I know they haven't completely finished the job today, but they were threatening to. When was the last time New Zealand won the first day against Australia in a win? It's a bloody long time ago.
2011.
No, they didn't, because they were bowled out on day 1. So Australia won that first day, and then New Zealand won the
bowled
test
them out
match.
for 136. So Australia bowled out all out 150, New Zealand are all out 136. I can't remember.
But still, honours are, they don't win. That's an honours even situation.
They've been smashed.
But they could have bowled out Australia for 200, 210, 220, and Green's got in the way of that.
Probably 1993.
Yeah, Auckland 93. That's what we broadly agreed upstairs. The last time they did something that was statement-esque, if you like, on day 1 was then. So
I'll throw in one more stat. New Zealand have won 8 tests against Australia ever. Richard Hadley played in 6 of those.
He did, and he took 33 wickets. They didn't win all 3 test matches in 85, 86. No. Jeremy Coney led that series and led the win in 86 as well. In
the 6 test matches that New Zealand won against Australia with Richard Hadley playing, Richard Hadley took 51 wickets at 14 and made about 180 runs at 31.
You're pretty good at cricket. Yeah. I went into the museum today, and it's basically the Richard Hadley Museum. A lot of stuff there. If you want to get it should be Hall of Fame. Fuck it, we'll do it now. Do you want to get the Richard Hadley cricket ball radio?
Yeah,
that's in there. It's like Hat FM.
You just
want to get the Richard Hadley board game? That's in there. Richard Hadley.
Are they on display?
They're on display.
Okay, so you're going to have to Catherine Zeta-Jones it through the lasers. You're going to have to put on your leather pants. You're going to have to spray the smoke so you can see the lasers. Get under the grid, and then as you lift the cricket ball radio off, you've got to replace it with a bag of sand at exactly the same time, so the alarm system doesn't trigger.
Well, there's the Richard Hadley board game. There's the scorecard from when
it's all ladders, no stakes. It just keeps going up.
9 for it at Brisbane's also in there. Daniel Vittori's glasses are in there from when he was a teenager. Anyway, get down to the museum if you're in Wellington over the next few days. Jeff, we got it. We've got to do it. This is the Final Word Hall of Fame. The Final Word Hall of Fame is brought to you by CBUS Super. 8.99% average return across the 40 years they've been in operation. Why wouldn't you want to get your Super sorted out?
I think it's 8.89%.
What did I say?
I thought you said 8.99.
8.89, 8.99. Either way, it's a pretty bloody good number. It's in the high 8s.
Okay.
The high 8s. Average return.
Toyota high
default
8s.
Account across 40 years. We've been telling you the story of CBUS across the last 2.5 months. Now the call to action. Get your Super sorted out.
Yeah.
If your Super's not sorted out, if it's sitting in a fund, you don't know what you're doing, you're not really paying attention, pay attention. This can be something that makes a big difference when you are retiring And when you are able to draw down on your superannuation, get in an industry fund, get in cbussuper.com.au. Their past performance is not a reliable indicator of future performance. Do it at their website or get in touch with us and we can help facilitate an introduction.
Your super is probably being eaten up by bullshit charges for life insurance that you didn't even know that you had.
There you go. Mine used to be. When mine was in a retail fund, I got absolutely slaughtered on all that bullshit. Moved to an industry fund, not to be.
No, doesn't happen. Doesn't happen over there. All right, Hall of Fame, what have we got? You said Cam Green is now 4. Sean Abbott is now 8. This is courtesy of Corbin Middlemass, who did the maths up there. Yes, 29th of February, his birthday, so he's now celebrating his 8th birthday at the age of 32.
I've got one on this. 29th of February, the first 2 times I played Test cricket on that day were in 1904 and in 1912.
Good years, both.
Both Test matches were in Sydney.
Yeah.
Guess what happened?
Rained out.
Both were washed out. And Mark Greatbatch made 100 on debut in 1988 against England on the 29th of February. Had some fun with that. Clearly, we both did that on commentary. Very nice. Anti-Hall of Fame. Oh, you go. You go first.
Okay. Well, I'll go a positive thing first. I haven't heard this before. The ground announcer here doing the incoming batter by cap number. I loved that. He was like, here we go, up number 445 for Australia. I was like, it's a nice touch, nice recognition, you know.
Well, he was working nicely in concert with the cricket ground DJ, right? This is a lovely place. We're going to spend a lot of time telling you what a great ground the Basin Reserve is, where we were here luckily 8 years ago. Beautiful to return with so much history. It's the cradle of cricket in New Zealand, certainly as far as international cricket is concerned. But there's still music, and usually I'm against music in Test cricket between overs. But when you've got him banging out Smashing Pumpkins tonight, and smashing out White Town, Your Woman, I take it all back. Music all the time. It wasn't so bad. It wasn't like in your face either. It was kind of gentle in the backdrop.
It was a bit maybe we're right above the speakers there, but I can tell you if you're in a com box with Jim Maxwell and Brian Waddle, there is not a lot of fanship of the music being played.
Not Billy Corgan.
The ground announcer though, when Neil Wagner came onto subfield, and the ground announcer was onto it and made sure the crowd knew about it. He's retired. Why is he subfielding? Why has he still got a set of whites? Why is he? He's not. He didn't say he was retiring after this series, did he? He said he was retiring.
No, he did. He said he was going to prepare for this test in case something happened.
Okay.
So basically, he bowled in the lead up. You know, could have been stepping on a ball or whatever.
Sure.
I'm going to skip over my anti-Hall of Fame and just say that how beautiful it was when everyone came out to the middle at lunch. I mean, I know that this isn't the only country where that happens, but we're so conditioned to... I ran into a listener of ours today, Michael, on the other side of the ground, and he said that, you know, if you're in Sydney, there'd be 4 sniper rifles trained on you. Or not just Sydney. Yeah. You know, they do not trust you in Australia for this kind of thing.
I remember that kid, was it at the Gabba where that like 15-year-old kid who was just getting the shit beaten out of him by security on the way off? No one got reported for that. Nothing ever happened. Like, there's absolute thugs who work some of those jobs.
I get, well, you're not permitted to do it in Australia, so you're meant to have
also
the
still not to get
to an extent. But I mean,
not when you're like a skinny teenager with like 4 burly blokes trying to give you neck damage, like shaking your head around on the top of your neck.
Maybe we shouldn't be trusted in Australia, but they trust their patrons here to do the right thing, and they had a great time in the outfield. And you know what? I'm relaxed. I'm relaxed on my Hall of Fames.
Okay. I would just throw in. I really like that every time I hear someone say Willow Rourke, I think that his name is first name Willow, last name Rourke. Good name for a cricketer. But it's kind of a nice, soothing name. And New Zealand bowled 15 overs before drinks today.
They did.
In the first hour, 15 overs. They did not continue on that track. They didn't get through their overs. But for a brief shining hour there, we were like, maybe they will bowl 90 in the day. No, didn't happen. But still,
one crowded hour, you could say.
Crowded house. There was a lot of Crowded House remixes being played today, I'll tell you what. Or like cover versions, like upbeat techno cover. There's one thing I don't need, it's upbeat electronic cover versions of Crowded House. Crowded House are fine. Leave Crowded House alone. Leave Britney alone. That's it.
This has been The Final Word Daily. Jeff and me recording a podcast in the... We actually did one last week and it didn't get posted. That's story time 172.
Oh, yeah.
Or 171.
Well, that'll go up.
Or whatever it is. It'll go up at some stage.
Yeah.
But back in the saddle this week, throughout the course of this series, patreon.com/The Final Word. If you like what we do, we'll be recording another story time while we're here after this test match. CBUSSuper.com.au. We love them. We have an affinity for them. They have an affinity for us. That's the way it works.
We don't just see bus, we feel bus.
Yeah.
Yeah?
I like it.
Okay.
Have a thing for them, they've got a thing for us. The Metronomy song. What else?
We'll see you on day 2.
Day 2, and weekly show is pretty good with Brett and me up there. That's not related to the test at all.
Oh, yeah. And if you've made it this far, well, I should have done this at the start. We're having our listener meet up at the Hotel Bristol on the Friday night.
That's tomorrow, right?
Sort of. That's
night
day
2.
From about 8 o'clock, because we won't get out of here till we won't get there till 8 o'clock.
Yeah, 7:30. I'm a half chance because you got to do stuff after. 7:30. I'll be there by 7:30 tomorrow at Hotel Bristol.
Mm-hmm.
Be there.
Be there. See ya.
Bye.